Well, hello and good morning, evening or afternoon, depending on when you are streaming this, the latest episode of Edie's SustyTalk. If you're new to the SustyTalk series, well, firstly, where have you been? We've been running it ever since lockdown started last year, and this series is designed to keep us all feeling connected to the sustainability conversation, as a lot of us are working remotely at the moment, or at least working differently. I'm delighted to have a senior member of VF Corporation on the call today, namely Marianella Cervi, who is the Senior Manager for Sustainability and Responsibility for the EMEA region. How are you this morning?
I'm good, thanks, Sarah. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the invitation.
No, thanks for taking the time. It's been a little while since I caught up with VF Corp, so it's good to touch base.
Great.
Great. Yes. So I'd love to start with actually just catching up off call. I know you mentioned that you've been working remotely this year, so I'd love to hear what it's been like in your role. So what remote working has been like and what that has meant for sustainability programs and announcements this past year.
Well, of course, the current situation hit everyone in personal lives and, if you want, also in professionally. But I have to say that for us, it's been a particularly interesting year looking also at our sustainability commitments. It has definitely not stopped us. It's something we can say that the team was even more dedicated. And some of the initiatives and of the commitments that we were working on have even been accelerated during this year, just to name a few examples. For example, Timberland, which is one of our brands, last September, so in the middle of the pandemic, launched their two specific sustainability goals, which are talking about by 2030 having 100% of products designed for circularity and 100% of natural materials sourced from regenerative agriculture. This is very groundbreaking in the industry. It's very, very bold, and it happened during the last year. Another example could be Icebreaker, one of our brands as well, they have committed to have 100% of its materials plastic free by 2023. So it means eradicating synthetics from the entire collection within 3 years. Which is very, very relevant for the whole industry and for us as an organization. One last example could be also we have recently, a month or more ago, not more than 2 months ago, announced our packaging goals, VF packaging goals. We talk about having by 2025 all single-use plastic eliminated from our packaging, and all the remaining packaging reduced or originated from sustainable sources or designed for reuse or recyclability. So packaging has also been a very key focus for us and very upfront for our sustainability strategy for sure. So yeah, these are some of the examples. In general, it is a great place to be, I have to say, in this moment, working in sustainability, and particularly in this company where the commitments are, if something, accelerating sustainability is being seen as one of our key strategic choices, and thereof all the other efforts that are coming behind that to keep that up and not being stopped by the context, and see how can we actually use it as an opportunity to keep doing more.
I think like last March there was a little bit of fear, but I'm seeing more and more of this. This has been a good time to plan, to set things up to really accelerate in the near future. And as you say, that strategic vision as well, I've seen a lot of brands looking at. And you mentioned the Timberland pledge. I'll do a shameless plug for a previous episode of this in which we had Zach Angelini on from Timberland to discuss that. So if that piques your interest, you can search for that on our YouTube or our site. But for today, I'll come on to some of the announcements that have been made this year. And you mentioned new packaging commitments. So, for example, no single-use plastic packaging by 2025. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how VF is going to get to that point.
Yeah, well, given the magnitude of plastic packaging waste today, the focus on sustainable packaging is a critical component, I could say, of any sustainability strategy, for sure, of VF sustainability strategy. It's a topic that we have been looking at for a couple of years now, seriously, and we have put up a cross-functional group to look into which are our hotspots, which is the situation, and which are the alternatives that we have to eliminate it. So we came up gladly a couple of months ago, as I said, with this commitment to eliminate all single-use plastic from packaging, and the remaining packaging to be reduced, or looking into more sustainable alternatives. And also we're looking at our own operations. So by 2023, in actually by now 2 years and a half, all essential, non-essential, single-use plastic for which there is a viable product alternative will be eliminated also from our offices through its direct operations, but also from all our company-sponsored events. So we're really looking at every level, at our packaging of our products, but also at our direct operations. And the transition is happening through our sustainable packaging guidelines. We have addressed that at the end of last year, and it's been addressed to the key corporate functions that are involved in the decision-making process. So you have to think that VF is a big house of brands. We have different brands that are sitting in different geographies worldwide, and packaging decisions are happening in different places throughout the whole process. So we have different marketing teams, but also we have our indirect procurement teams that are making decisions around which are the suppliers that we are starting to work with. So at this moment, we are at that point of implementation and in onboarding all the decision-making process, and develop the implementation plans to phase out single-use plastic packaging from our operations. We are very excited about that, and definitely I have to say that this is also one of those goals that excite our colleagues. Now, this is beyond the sustainability team. We need the effort of cross-functioning of all our colleagues, and goals like this make the rest of the employees, to feel proud about it and willing to put that extra mile and that extra effort in making it happen. Is something that everyone is looking at.
Yeah, plastics can be a pretty emotional topic, can't it? Very emotive, very engaging.
Yeah, we know it is. We see it everywhere, right now, even in our family conversations or with friends, and it became a big topic. Rightfully so, I have to say. It is an issue, and we are 100% committed to address it and eliminate it.
Great. Well, thanks for so much information on that. I feel like that will be helpful for people who are weighing up how to do it. The framework approach seems really interesting. And I was also going through other announcements, and there's also been another big drive about transparency and sustainable supply chains. So I got an announcement a couple of months ago again that the company is disclosing tier 1 through tier 4 suppliers for popular products, hoping to reach 100 popular products by the end of this year. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about behind the scenes, because I've heard from a lot of brands that this is really a challenging piece of work, more than probably meets the eye to the average person that's just looking for a t-shirt.
Yeah, it is. It doesn't come without a big amount of effort and commitment, and again, interaction. We are, and this is really not just rhetoric, we are a purpose-led organization, and it's more than charity or philanthropy. It's really, we're using purpose-led as a strategic filter for all the decision making that also have to do with growing our business. As I was saying in the beginning, for example, sustainability being one of those strategic choices, and it comes with all the rest of the goals. This traceability gives us visibility on every aspect of the supply chain and the areas that we need to improve, and transparency is helping us build that trust with our stakeholders, with our suppliers, but also with our consumers. It is challenging because if you think about it, our supply chain spans over 40 countries. We're talking about thousands of suppliers. but we're constantly driving and striving for that traceability for raw materials and distribution. So as you have said, in 2018, we published source maps. So we're working with source maps for 9 of our most iconic brands. And yeah, we're now extending these to cover more brands and more products. We are starting, of course, with those best-selling or most iconic products. For example, it was the yellow boot for Timberland. And we have published 46 product maps by now, and we hope, our goal is by the end of this year of 2021, that we will have mapped and published 100 products from production to distribution. We are, it's a big commitment that we have. Of course, we are able to do that with the collaboration and the engagement we have throughout supply chain, all the work that the team is doing there, but also the partnership that we're having with the tools that we're using, for example, Source Map, that I mentioned before.
Mm-hmm. Great, and I'd love to hear a bit about the next steps, because obviously you said it's a great consumer engagement tool. People are increasingly asking where the material is from, who made my clothes, questions like this. But you mentioned that supplier engagement piece as well, and I know that doesn't come overnight and takes time. So if you've done your mapping and then it throws up some question marks or areas for improvement or areas for better engagement, what will happen after that initial 100 product?
Well, this is a very good question, and to your comment below before, it was something like just one anecdote that I'm sharing. The traceability maps are the most frequented pages, the ones that receive more clicks within our sustainability section. So it was very well received, not only by our consumers, by our clients, but also by internally, by our colleagues. And so internally and externally, and this helped us also to get a lot of recognition outside of the industry, which is something that, for the effort that is made, it is an encouragement to continue doing more. So I have to say that there is a lot in the future that I can tell you that as I've said, we have enhanced recently the traceability mapping program. And we're now disclosing supplier information for tier 1 through tier 4, which is one of the most higher visibility available in our industry. And to your question, we have an industry-leading worker and community development program as well. We're very proud as VF of the worker and community development program that we have, and of the interaction and the partnership that we have with our suppliers. So, to your question, whatever this tool is helping us to address in relating to raw material supply, but also to the worker well-being, it is something that we are addressing beyond this program. It's something that, if I can say, is one of the first commitments, long-term commitments that we have within VF. We want people who work in the VF supply chain to live better lives because they are in connection with VF. And our goal, we have a publicly stated goal to improve the lives of 1 million workers by 2025 and 2 million by 2030. And for that, all VF suppliers must adhere to those standards. They are very rigorous standards that we are actually taking on the field all the time. We have a big team there, and these standards are set in our terms of engagement with the various companies' policies that we are putting up whenever we are starting a new engagement with suppliers. So for sure, this is an opportunity on many fronts, on the engagement with our customers, on the visibility we're giving to our industry, on the engagement with our internal stakeholders, but also on having and understanding more everything that is happening in the supply chain. And our commitment, as it has always been before the source maps, it's there to address whatever we're finding through this traceability program.
Great. I imagine that although that's a long-term commitment, more and more people are thinking about it because of COVID, because we've just heard about the sort of domino effect that this has had all over the world. So thank you so much for your insight. But Marianella, that's the last question I have time for today. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Sarah, again for having me, and excited to be here.